And I always have to go back to, why did we start this and why does it work? And in my opinion, we started this and it works because we've always prioritized the people that we serve.
Right. Well, welcome back to another episode of KarWell Chronicles. We are your hosts. I'm Emily.
And I'm Sara.
And let's get into today's episode. We have a lot to recap, I think.
Yes.
Because we just got back from Level Up Your Listing Summit.
Yes. This is our second year going to Level Up Your Listing. And honestly, I'm like so sad we didn't go to the first one because I wish we could watch the progression.
I know. When they're like, have you come all 3 years? And I'm like,
in spirit.
Yeah, like I wish I had. I didn't we really weren't conference people at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to be like one of those people that's like culty about this conference specifically because I love it so much.
Oh my gosh, you should have heard me. Everybody who came up, I was like, you guys, this is the best conference ever. Are you having the most fun?
Yeah, I know. And we recommend it to everyone. We're like, if you're going to go to one conference a year, go to this one, which leads me into my first question for today. I semi-prepared for this podcast, which everyone's surprised.
Yes, seriously.
But what do you think makes Level Up Your Listing different from all the other conferences that we have been to?
I have an annoying answer and then like a better answer, but the annoying one is that a woman planned it. Everything is thought about. And like, don't get me wrong, like I feel like they get feedback from people, but I also think they implement the feedback that they get from people, which is really nice. Like you can see every year that they're like making changes and updating things. But it's just like they care about, the entire weekend are wearing outfits that are the color of the entire event. They design every single booth so that all of the booths are like coordinated together. Yeah. They really think about the people that they're going to have speaking on stage and making sure that they are beneficial to every single person. And like even this year they mentioned like it's not all just short-term rental people. Like they understand that the industry is changing and that we're all spreading out and adapting, and so they made sure to cater to that with their audience. I just think that every single thing is thought about, and they both walk around and talk to people the entire conference. They're not just like sitting back in a green room only talking to the people that are speaking.
Yeah.
Every single thing about it is so good.
Yeah.
And like being able to kind of be on the other side of it this year where we got to talk to them like about their planning process and stuff really gave me insight into it. And so I just think they are just top tier when it comes to this.
Yeah. Well, and even like Natalie specifically, because I know Natalie better than I know Tatiana. Mm-hmm. And Natalie, even when I was walking out with Samaya, and like, in what case scenarios has Natalie met Samaya other than Level Up Your Listing last year, probably in passing? Mm-hmm. And as we were walking out the door, Natalie was like, "It was so good to see you, Samaya." And like, Samaya's not, like, her name is not an easy one to remember, right? Yeah. And Samaya literally like walked away and she's like, "How did Natalie remember my name?" And it's like, it's that, it's like that level of they're hosting a conference, but they're like hospitality experts hosting a conference. Yes. It just, there's so many details about it that I'm just like.
I know. Everybody's recaps that they've been posting like carousels or videos. Almost every single person has at least one, maybe 2 or 3 photos with Natalie and Tatiana.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know a lot of other people who host conferences that are out in the crowd talking to people, taking photos with like every single person.
Yeah.
And they're dancing on stage and they're having a good time. I don't know. It's just the feeling of it is different. It's like a fashion show now. Like everybody is like so culty about what they're wearing, even us.
Yeah.
Like I love them, but the colors are just not our brand, right?
Absolutely
like we
not.
are very neutral girls, and even we were in their brand colors for the welcome party this year, which is so random.
Yeah, the fashion show portion of it makes it so exciting for the girlies. Like every other conference that we go to, it's like, how conservative can I dress? Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to be around people in navy blue suits. And so I'm just like, want to be taken seriously and want it to, like, I feel like I have to dress like a politician. Mm-hmm. And then we go to this conference and I'm like, the loudest heels, the highest heels, the shortest shorts, like it's for the girls. And like men go, but it's for the girls.
It really is. And it's so funny because I was wearing heels And I then ended up walking around barefoot because my heels hurt so bad. And every girl was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had taken off my heels or like whatever. So I didn't even feel weird about taking off my heels and running around barefoot and then having sneakers, because also everybody understood the pain that I was in because all of the girls were also wearing heels. And so it just feels like everybody there is on your team.
Yeah.
No matter what the situation is. It's just, I leave it feeling so good. And I'm not a social person. And it's so much easier for me to be social in those situations.
Yeah. And the one thing too, like the one of the speaking sessions that I caught that I just am like, when you're hosting a conference, like we know that there are speakers there that are getting paid to be there. There are speakers there that are paying to be there. And so that's a hard thing to navigate for anyone who's planning a conference of like, okay, we have to prioritize some form of profit because we're spending all year planning this event, while also balancing wanting to add as much value as you can to the attendees. And I've never seen another conference do the Rising Star panel.
Love it.
And so if you didn't attend the conference, the Rising Star panel is where they pick people who have attended the conference in the past, maybe, or they're just like stalking, people in the industry who are like just starting out, who are really coming out of the gate swinging, and to see, like, to reward people who are at the beginning of their journey. Because like we talk about, every single conference is like a pissing contest where you're like, how many properties? How big is your portfolio? Impress me.
You want to be doing the most exciting thing at all times, and nobody wants to hear about the people that are starting out and like bootstrapping it. Yeah.
And so to like carve out a space to like elevate people who are just starting out when they're probably at their most vulnerable, it just is like, I could cry thinking about it, because I'm just like, I can't imagine being in those shoes or being someone who's an attendee and seeing that like, oh my gosh, this person's just starting out and this is the stage that they're in and this is so relatable and they're like well respected, being congratulated.
And like showing somebody, like, it's like a goal. I feel like it's going to start being a goal for people to be like, oh my gosh, what can I accomplish this year that's going to get me recognized as the Rising Star?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see them up on stage, but I heard the announcement of who was up there. And like for Marissa to be the person who went up there this year, I was like, oh my gosh, that like has to feel so good, because we see her every single day working her butt off.
She's hustling.
She is hustling. And like she came to our retreat, and that was the first time that we met her in person. But I remember being like, oh my gosh, she's just like working so hard to create this thing. And then for her to be recognized, that like had to be so validating and feel so good for her.
Yeah.
And so when I heard her name, I was like, oh my gosh, yay. Like, that's so exciting.
I know. She really deserved it. Like they picked a great person for it.
Definitely.
That whole conference. Did you have any other speakers that stuck out that you were like, whoa, that's one that really impacted my perspective on anything?
I mean, I think we both are interested in like getting out of the single family home world. Like I'm not 100% because obviously like I have the one, but I'm just like interested in doing bigger stuff. And I didn't get to see all of the speakers, but I think Heather Blankenship and Isaac French, both of theirs.
Yeah.
And Isaac's like personally just felt like I was a little more drawn to. I love what Heather's doing and like the income that she's making, and I understand the process that she did to do that. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm super interested in that. It's just the creativity aspect of Isaac's that really draws me in.
Yeah.
His story is also insane.
Yeah.
Like the story of how he built that and sold it. And I think that like a lot of the creative aspect of that like interested me. Katie Klein's on branding was really cool to me too. I just think like the concept of branding is relatively new in short-term rentals because you didn't really have to brand yourself before. And now the concept of branding, like we're all really interested in doing that. And so I think it was super beneficial to every single person there. But yeah, I think like the thing that I'm steering towards now after listening to him is like what Isaac French does.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like his mastermind as well. Like he's got some of the most creative people in the industry that he's rubbing shoulders with. It's like everyone's is like anyone who's doing the Isaac French micro resort thing, none of them look the same. Like we're reaching a point where a lot of the B&Bs, especially in certain markets, are looking exactly the same. And so I just love to see creativity continue to win in this industry. And I just feel like like Heather's is like very tried and true, like hers are not Instagrammable like Isaac's. And it works, and especially post COVID, like camping has just exploded. I mean, we've seen that in Michigan where it's like you can't get a camp spot anywhere on the water unless you're booking it in like December the year before.
Literally.
So it definitely works. And and I have a huge appreciation for that. But that creative side of the micro resort where you're seeing like people build B&Bs in caves and just crazy things is so cool.
I know, it is really cool. And I feel like the vision that I have is kind of like I could really combine like the Isaac French thing with Heather's, because the Nordic and Spruce homes, which is the thing I'm the most interested in, have RV hookups. So I could like put them on a campground. And I know I sent you the Instagram, like Lumen Camps is something that's kind of like that. I think it's like a combination of like Isaac and Heather's strategy. But I love that. I'm so interested in like running down that trail.
Same. Yeah, I totally agree. Because it's like really auto camp. It's like the only one who's doing like the aesthetic. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there's like under canvas and there's other aesthetic glamping situations kind of all over the country. But
I think like at scale though, like auto camp is everywhere now.
Yeah. It's crazy. Everyone that we talk to, though, and we start talking about auto camp, nobody knows what it is. And I'm like, what?
I'm baffled. Like, I guess we're just like so deep in that world that maybe that's why. But I was like, when we say auto camp, people are like, no, I don't know what that is. I'm like, what? Like, how do you not know what that is?
I know. Even with the one thing that I wanted to touch on, too, is even with us loving Level Up Your Listing so much, I still prefer retreats. I still prefer the smaller settings. We're obviously very vocally pretty anti-conference in general outside of Level Up. Why do you like retreats more?
Yeah, I think it's because I genuinely talk to every single person when I'm at a retreat. And Level Up is like 300 people, so it's not like to the extent of some of the big conferences. And I think they do a good job of blending like the feel of a retreat with it being a little bit bigger. But I think that for the retreat itself, it's like there's not really like the distraction of like booths for sponsors, right? Like the sponsors themselves are either speaking or they are sponsoring, like in our case specifically, we have people sponsoring activities. So the sponsor themselves is like doing the activity with us versus people are like leaving and going and talking to somebody at a booth and maybe missing one of the speaking sessions or something like that. And so I just like the flow of that a little bit better. And for me in my head, being the person who's planning them, it makes it a little easier to plan an event around a retreat style versus a conference style.
Yeah.
And so I think that I'm like always thinking about like putting in the networking opportunities, but making sure that there is a ton of value with the education and making sure that people don't feel like it's like they have to choose one or the other. And I do think at conferences, you kind of have to choose.
Yeah. You're constantly weighing like, where do I need to be? Because there's things happening all the time. There's something very overstimulating about conferences for sure. And I'm an extrovert, like through and through, I'm an extrovert. I think I get a little more introverted as I've gotten older, but even after the welcome party, I'm like, why am I going to bed at 10? Like, why am I so tired?
I was exhausted.
And it's not like there's a ton of pressure to like perform any type of way. It's just, there's just so much going on. So I get overstimulated. But I think for me, I mean, I everything that you said, yes, I completely agree with. The one portion that I think for me, it like sells me on the retreats or the smaller gatherings over a conference is the evenings/mornings before we get started. Like we have had the pleasure the last 2 years going to Level Up Your Listing of staying in a very large house with 20 people who are all, friends of ours or in the space. And it's I get so much value out of the speakers. I get so much value out of the sponsors at the conference, but it just does not compare to the one-on-one conversations that I get in the evenings and in the mornings when you're just being lazy, you're in your sweatpants, you're winding down or winding up for the day. And it's like, you get into like the nitty gritty stuff with the people who are, in the thick of it with you. And And so it's like the Ubering back and forth is like I hate the, half hour back and forth, and it just eats up like an hour and a half of your day of having to like transport from place to place and like do all the things and then like try and find dinner and where's the happy hour and whatever. And so when we're at these retreats, it's like it really feels like a vacation. Like it's I don't leave them feeling exhausted. I leave them feeling restored, like we've gone on vacation with all of our besties, as opposed to like a conference where it very much still feels like work.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think with retreats specifically, because we're all in the same place, you have to like very clearly go in with the mindset that you're going to everything, because it could be really easy to go and just like
Guilty.
go to your room
Yeah.
and do nothing. But that's like why we plan like these events that we all get to go and do together, especially now that they're at auto camp. Like we get to go and experience a hike in Zion. And so like you get to see the environment instead of being like, oh, let me just like sneak back to my room because there's a break or something like that. And so I think choosing the right location is going to make a difference for retreats too.
Yeah. 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 There's just something about like being in close quarters with people for 3 days that like makes it, you have this like bonding experience that you just can't get at a conference, where at the end of the day, if I'm at a conference and I'm going back to my hotel room, I'm like questioning everything that I said throughout the day.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Same.
Like, was I weird all day?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. But altogether, I can't wait for next year's Level Up Your Listing already. I'm like, let me buy my ticket tomorrow.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, okay. I've got a couple of other questions as I prepared for this. Oh my God. I'm so excited to talk about this. So we are not drinking this year.
No, we're not.
And we put our heads down for the first 2 months out of the year, which made it very easy for me to not drink.
Mm-hmm.
Level Up Your Listing was the first occasion where we were around a ton of people. We threw a huge party at our B&B. Sorry to our hosts.
Yep.
We invited the whole conference over.
Yeah, we're the worst guests.
I asked the host, I was the first one to arrive at the B&B, and I asked the host, I was like, do you care if we have some people over at this house? And she was like, oh yeah, the house is yours for the weekend. And I was like, is there a limit to how many people we can have over? And she was like, within reason. And I was like, that's the gray area I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep, you didn't give us an exact number. So.
Yeah, within reason means 200, right? Like,
literally. To be fair, it didn't get that crazy. I think there was like 40 people there.
Probably at a time. Yeah, I bet you 100 probably shuffled throughout the night, but I don't think there was more than 40 at a time.
Girl, I went to bed.
Same. When did we reach the point where we're literally throwing a party and we're in bed?
I left when there were still so many people there.
Same.
I was like, my baby's sleeping. I'm going to bed.
We Great Gatsby'd it.
I cleaned and then I went to bed.
Same. But it was the first event that we chose to not drink throughout the event, even with all the networking, all of the parties, everybody else drinking around us. So how are you feeling with being sober?
I feel good. Like it was really nice to wake up and not feel like crap in the morning, because my first like real experience drinking after having a baby was our last retreat. And I remember like we were the hosts of that. And I remember waking up feeling like, oh my gosh, I should not have like drank last night. And I didn't go crazy or anything, but still it was like more than I had in a while. So it's so nice to wake up and feel great. But as an extreme introvert, networking and doing anything sober is really hard for me, which is maybe the reason that I needed to take a break, because it was like I was using it fully as a crutch, especially at these gatherings. And I had to speak in front of 300 people at this event to launch our product completely sober. And my heart was racing. Normally I would have like chugged a glass of champagne beforehand. Didn't do that. So I'm happy with the choice, but I do think it's harder than I thought it would be to be sober. I like maybe was like drinking not even in social situations. So it's been like a little bit harder than I thought it would to give up alcohol. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, you committed to not drinking this entire year. Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll go like at this point, obviously we've got 9 more months of the year to get through, or 9.5, but do you at this point, 2.5 months in, do you think that you will drink again? Or do you think that you're like, okay, this is probably something that I want to let go of completely forever?
I feel like after a year, I don't necessarily see the point in starting it up again.
Yeah.
Especially because of how much better I feel. Like on a Friday night when I would have gone and bought a bottle of Prosecco and drank it, the literal entire thing.
No judgment.
There should be a little judgment on that one. I'll go to the gym instead. And so like I'm feeling better about myself, and then I just feel better in general. And especially having a toddler to chase around, like I don't get to sleep in and be hungover in the morning. I have to get up and do it. So I don't want to say never again. My friend who lives in Texas, Milena, she basically is completely sober. She'll have like a glass of champagne at New Year's or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that will be the lifestyle that I have. But just because of my mentality around like the reason that I'm not drinking, I feel like if I start again, I'm not going to be able to like just only do it in those certain situations.
Yeah, it's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'm a party girl or I'm not a party girl.
Literally, like if it's open, I'm drinking it. And so I think that it's probably the better choice for me to just not do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggled as well. I think it was probably the easiest it's ever going to be because Zoe and Reed obviously don't drink. Cassidy and Aaron don't drink. You and Tyler weren't drinking. I don't think, was Carrie drinking? I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
Maddie and Skylar weren't drinking.
Yeah, literally our entire group basically wasn't drinking.
Yeah, but there was still probably 10 people, right, that were drinking. And so when we went to the STR book club brunch and I walk in, I'm wearing a cute outfit. I'm walking into a cute restaurant and I see all the cute girls who are also in cute outfits holding mimosas. And I'm like, literally the moment I walked in, like I could feel my heart start like racing, like excited to get a mimosa in my hand. And it's like, it's the vibe, right? Like I want to hold a mimosa and I want to walk around and I want to get a little tipsy and I want to like talk too much and like bond with the girlies. And Ethan was like, then get a mimosa. And I was like, Emily's not drinking. I'm not drinking. Like,
I'm so glad that I can be that for you, but you don't have to be on this journey with me.
No, we do things together, Emily. You're not drinking. I'm not drinking. And so like after, we got espresso shots. And so we like took a shot, like with the boys. And that like kind of scratched the itch, I
think anything in a fancy glass. I put orange juice in like an old fashioned glass.
Yeah.
Put anything in a fancy glass and I'll feel like I'm part of the club.
Yeah. Yeah. So I made it through that and that was fine. And I like left and I was like, okay, that was the right choice. And then we threw that party at the B&B. And the second the party started, it was like, we kind of clean the house, we get it ready, we open the door, the people start arriving, like champagne starts getting popped, wine starts getting opened. And I'm like, like it has been over a decade since I've gone to a party and not drank. It's like, I guess I didn't realize how much it was part of my identity, and like all of a sudden being uncomfortable with like, oh my God, now what do I hold? Like, what do I do with my hands? It's like all these little tiny things. And so I was like, okay, I'll open up an NA beer, even though I don't really like beer. And that helped. And then I carried around that NA beer for 5 hours and got through a quarter of it.
Yeah, I do love an NA beer. It it scratches the itch when I feel like I need something other than water or coffee or an energy drink, because I'm also like trying not to drink soda, trying not to do all that other stuff. And so the NA beers, they're nice.
Yeah. I will say though, is like when I did drink at any previous party over the last decade, I would always tell people like when I start drinking, the first thing that goes is my memory. Right? Like I will forget the conversations that I had and the next morning be like, wait a minute, I remember talking to them, but like I really don't remember like the intricacies of that conversation. And then we have that party at the B&B, and then the next morning I was like, I still don't remember half of the conversations that I had last night. Like what? Same. Am I just dumb?
I think that I just get too nervous when I'm talking to people. I had a full conversation with a very nice couple and like I remember the basics of it, but I couldn't tell you like half of the stuff that I said, and I'm like, I think I just get too nervous and my brain just like shuts off.
Yeah, that's so fair. Yeah, but I tell you what, I've really been enjoying not drinking for the feeling good the next day. Like Ethan I went to bed early, snuck out of the Irish goodbye to everyone.
Oh yeah.
And Ethan didn't realize for like 20 minutes, and so Ethan comes into the bedroom and he's like, how dare you leave me like out there socializing on my own, like without supervision. But he was like, Sarah, he's like, you want to know what the best part about tonight was? And I was like, what? Like thinking he was going to have like an incredible conversation or have like met someone that like changed his life. He was like, the best part about tonight is that tomorrow we're going to wake up and we're going to feel great. And I was like, you're right.
It was pretty great. Yeah. When Oz woke me up at like 6 o'clock the next morning, I was like, I feel fantastic. Tired.
Yeah.
But like, other than that, I'm living tired right now. So I just felt normal.
Yeah. You were socially drained, but not hungover.
Exactly.
Well,
so nice not having like a stomach ache, headache,
yeah.
all of that.
The
It's
bloat.
so funny. I remember when we first met Zoe
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, you guys, it's poison. Like,
Mhm.
stop drinking that. It's poison. I was like, Zoe, you're so dramatic. Like, quit. And I'm like, she's so right.
Like we knew you were right, but we weren't ready to accept it at that point in
yeah,
time.
it just took us a few years. She got us.
Yeah. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self or even go back a couple of years, do you now wish you would have stopped drinking earlier?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like, I can't look back and think of any situation where I'm like, ugh, that was really bad.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I do think that I probably used it as a crutch for longer than I should have. So maybe I didn't push myself out of my comfort zone, but I also was in situations where like having that drink forced me to talk to that person that like led me to where I maybe am today. So I don't think I would take it back, but I like that I'm forcing myself to not use it as a crutch anymore.
Yeah.
Because I need that. Like, speaking to anybody that's not in my immediate friend group terrifies me, which is probably shocking to a lot of people. But like, I genuinely am terrified to do that. And I had to force myself to do that a lot this past week.
You crushed it this past week. I was like watching you give your speech, like literally crying. I was like, oh my God, she's crushing it.
Panicking. I like tried to look at my cards for half a second. I was like, never mind. Can't read.
I don't know where we are in the speech at this point.
I didn't. It was so bad.
Yeah. Well, I had read your speech ahead of time, and then I saw you not looking at your cards, and I was like, oh, what if she practiced this 12 million times? She's got it like memorized word for word, and it's coming out flawlessly.
I'm glad it came off that way.
Yeah, you crushed it. Yeah, I feel that though. I don't think I would. We just had such a good time in our 20s drinking. And I'm not saying it's the right choice or the wrong choice. It's just like when we hosted that party, and you know, all the people who are in the SDR industry who are still in their 20s and they're like very much in their like party phase, I just was like looking at it and I was like, good for you. Like, good for you for really like not rushing into adulthood. And I'm not saying that like sobriety is necessarily like a part of adulthood, but I just like feel no type of way. You know, I feel no judgment towards anyone who wants to like drag out that party phase for a while longer, because there were so many good things that came from it. It's just one day you're just an old lady drinking too much alcohol, you know?
Yeah. And I got too much going on.
Yeah. 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 Now that we're 30, we got to think about like our skin and our insides and like livers and things like that.
I eat something wrong and I'm messed up. So
we don't recover like we used to.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of us. I think that was a whole thing that we did successfully.
Yeah. I'm very proud of you. I was pretty sure I could pull through. I wasn't genuinely sure if you could.
I think it's like, it's so helpful that you're not drinking, because I just am like competing with you. I'm like, if Emily thinks I can't do it, I have to show her that I can.
I think you can. I just like have seen you in those situations before, you know?
Yeah. Where I'm like, this party needs to turn up a notch and I will sacrifice my liver for it.
Yeah. You just like have a hard time like bringing down the party. Not that being sober actually does that, but I know that you'd feel like sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And so if somebody was going to ask you, I was like, oh, she'll just say yes. Like, not to be like, oh, I'm giving this up, but just because you would feel bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, what gets a party going more than a round of shots? You know?
Yeah.
Like, everybody gets excited. Yeah. So it's a whole shift in identity where I'm just like, okay, we have to replace this with other things and we'll see what comes of it. You know, it's a whole new thing. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. Okay. So I have a few questions about us in a partnership in general, because we went on Heather Blankenship's podcast. Shout out to Heather. I thought she did an incredible job interviewing us.
Great.
Like,
it was so natural.
Yeah. And she had such good questions that were like really applicable to one one of us, and I don't
Mhm.
know, it just felt like she prepared really well. But she kind of really dove into like, why does this partnership work? How do you guys make it work? And so that's just been top of mind the last few days where I think because you and I have been on the same swing set for 20 something years, there's a
Mhm.
portion of that we take for granted and we don't really like digest why it works, what doesn't work. And we see a ton of people that get into partnerships that don't work. And so I just want to like sink our teeth into that a little bit more. Um, so I'm curious from your perspective, what's the hardest part about partnering with me?
Oh. I think other people's opinions, genuinely, because I made this conscious choice years ago. And then we've talked about this before where I was like, whatever choice Sarah makes, I'm not going to stop being friends with her. I'm just going to work through it. And so I'm not like going to let myself get upset about anything, right? Like, sure, maybe I disagree with choices that you make. But I'm never going to like leave.
Yeah.
And so, but other people don't have that same mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe something that somebody else wouldn't deal with, they're like, whoa, that's like different. And I'm like, no, I just know where Sarah's thought process is in making that decision. I know it's not a malicious choice. I know that she's just making the best choice for herself or me or us or whatever. So I know what's going through your head, but not everybody around us does.
Yeah.
And so I think like the outside world having opinions about certain things can sometimes affect me because I'm like, it makes me question the things. And then once I'm like, no, this is like, I can like then go and tell from your perspective why that choice was made. And they're like, oh, okay, then like it's fine. And I'm like, yeah, you just don't see all of the other things that are going on in the choices that we make. And like, even if I maybe disagreed with a decision, I know that we can talk about it. And once maybe you explain your perspective, then I'm like, oh, that's the end goal. Got it.
Yeah.
Now I understand the decision a lot better. Um, but I think that that's it. But I just made that choice a really long time ago because, I mean, not that we have to dive into our whole life story, but like back in high school and like when we were younger, people would be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't like that Sarah did that. Like, why are you still friends with her? And I was like, well, I've just made the choice that I'm not going to stop being friends with her. So why let it bother me?
Yeah.
But that's like a real, like a choice that you actually have to make in your head to not let that stuff bother you.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you listening, I was quite the rebel in high school. Surprise, surprise. Turned out to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. But I genuinely like, to me, it's always been outside of the high school stuff. All of the entrepreneurship decisions have been because you genuinely feel like you're making a decision to either move yourself forward or a business forward. And so none of it is ever malicious.
Yeah.
And so I just don't take it personally, or even if I am upset about it for like 5 seconds, we can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think all best friends have that.
No. No. Well, and I mean, how are they supposed to? It's like that for me, when I'm thinking about the decisions that you're making, whether they are the same decisions that I would make or not make, like I know to my core that you have my best interest at heart and that it's not like in any way going behind my back. And I don't know that would be the case with literally anyone else, and that
Mm-hmm.
just comes from like years and years and years and years and years of like you proving that over and over and over again in every single situation that I don't have to like question, is this person, on my team or are they on their team or like, it's one of those things that I just don't have to think about in the same way. So whenever you're making a decision as well, I'm just like, I know it's coming from a good place. Whereas in other partnerships that I've been in or group projects that I've been in or whatever else, you always have to like try and pull yourself out of your own lens and try to put yourself in their shoes, but you don't understand how to walk in their shoes like I understand yours, just because we've been friends for so long.
Yeah. I also think that like a lot of the things or the decisions that you make are because you like to move at a very fast pace.
Yeah.
And I don't, but like you've always been okay with me wanting to move at whatever pace I want.
Yeah.
And so I'll either keep up or I won't, but you're going to move at the pace that you want. And then I'll just move at the pace that I want. And we're both okay with that. I just don't think other people understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like Like you, over the last year and a half of being a new mom, there was no world where you were going to be able to move at the same pace that you moved the year before. Like that just would never, ever, ever be the case. And so, yeah, it's like, you know, why would you need to carry the pressure of trying to keep up with me? Why would I need to carry the pressure of taking a step back to slow down for you? It's like, no, those two things can exist in the same swing set still.
And we both know that both of us are giving 100% of what we can give at that point in time.
I never have to question if you're trying your hardest.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's no reason for me to be like, oh my God, Emily's not getting this thing done fast enough or whatever. Like, she's doing all she can.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing about, what was my question? I'm asking it to myself.
Hardest thing about being my partner.
Hardest thing about being your partner is I hate/love that you're a realist.
Oh.
Because you keep me out of trouble.
Yeah, I know.
And 90% of the time, I would be in more trouble if you weren't a realist. But I literally hate every single time you're like, Sarah, I know you have all this optimism, but think about all these things that could go wrong. And I'm like, why did things go wrong?
I know. I really do hate that. I hate that I'm like that as well sometimes. Because you'll just come up with this idea and I'm like, let her have it. Like, let her have the excitement for a second. And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like making a checklist of like all the things that we'll have to double check. And I'm like, okay, we can do that, but this, and this needs to be written out in a contract. And you're like, no, we don't. And I'm like, yep, we need that written in a contract because of this and this and this situation. And you just want to believe the best in everybody.
Yeah.
We just have gotten our
butts handed
to us by some people. And so there's just no way that we can operate like that. Even if I want to believe that everybody is the best person in the world and I would approach those situations like wanting the best for somebody else if I was like bringing that deal to them or wanting to partner or whatever else, but not everybody's like that. And so I hate that I have to be that person too. Trust me, I don't want to be the downer in the group.
No, I'm so thankful for it. It's just every single time I'm like, you are my reality check. And so every single time it happens, I'm like, why are there always things that could go wrong? Why can't it just be like, oh, we figured it out, this light bulb moment where this is our, you know, home stretch or whatever. But
once in a while, I do have it too far where I'm like genuinely thinking about every single possible thing, and nobody would get anywhere if that was like the world that they lived in.
Yeah.
Like nothing would ever get done in any business. And so I need you to like basically be like, okay, we're doing it anyways. And so I just have to like put that worry in my back pocket and maybe plan for things to like potentially happen. But also we're doing it anyways. And so I think that that's needed for me just as much as me being a realist is needed for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It works really well. It works really well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're not scared to give me that feedback either, which granted it's like, because you don't want to get in trouble into any of these situations either. But.
I used to maybe be more afraid of it. Now I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Which this is kind of a tangent for like 5 seconds, but, I mean, we have gotten our butts handed to us a few times in the past in bad relationships. And that was a big topic of conversation at Level Up, where we found out that someone in our past who screwed us over pretty badly has screwed over everyone in the industry since then.
A lot of people. And I was like, it made me feel so bad when people were telling me their stories, because I was like, I wish that we could have met all of you before and given you a heads up or warned you.
Yeah, if we didn't have an NDA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to like think about that situation. And to a certain extent, I'm like, we should have just like said something, but then get sued, you know?
Yeah.
And also like the timing. I don't know when all of those relationships started, but it just sucks. Mm-hmm. And people's reputations in this industry need to be talked about more.
Oh my God. I mean,
we need to talk about that stuff way more often instead of like running into somebody and happening to like know the same person and being like, I had a horrible experience. Everyone. And like in those situations, a couple of like, we got off better than some of those people that we met.
Oh my gosh. I thought we got screwed. And then I was hearing some of the stories of the money that they got screwed out of. And like the one girl that was like, they owe me $52,000. And I was like, why didn't you get that money back? And she was like, because in my exit contract where they were going to pay me the $52,000, they added a non-compete that I refused to sign at the beginning. And she was like, and so had I signed that contract and gotten the $52,000 that I was owed, I then would be pushed out of this industry.
Of a job. Yeah.
Even though she was in it before.
which was the whole thing with
Snakes.
us. That was one thing that I was adamant about when we were negotiating, was like, we're not doing a non-compete, but we're also not letting our business be absorbed into something else. Like, we get to keep our existing business. And that was an offer that they made to a few other people that I talked to, that they wanted to absorb their business. And I'm like, that makes it so you don't get to go and start anything else. Honestly, probably a smart business move on their part, but real scummy if you think about not having a really long relationship or partnership with those people. And if you're going to absorb somebody's business, pay them like a quality amount.
Seriously. Yeah. It's unfortunate too, because it's like 100% women that are like getting screwed in this specific circumstance.
I'm like, even still to this day, terrified to say some things.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the girl that I was talking to about her being in a situation with this group of people. She was like, what was I going to do? Like, open up another lawsuit and they were going to bury me in
literally the
legal
money
fees?
that they have, for sure.
It's going to cost more than the $52,000 that they owe me. And I'm like, I can't believe that the correct choice, the correct choice in that situation was to just let them have the $52,000. Ugh. That leads me into another one of my questions. Because I feel like, in knowing the person that is screwing these people over, they, in my opinion, are very, very, very insecure. I mean, we could see that in the way that they carried themselves.
Yes.
Like, day one, their mannerisms, I was like, this person is just so painfully smart / insecure.
So smart. That's the part that pisses me off.
Brilliant. One of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life.
So smart. It's like, and that's where all of these ideas come from. But like, those smarts could be used in such a better way.
I mean, he could just be at the top of this industry.
Yeah, I know.
Like, he could just be it. Has the brain to do that, and just instead decided to treat people like crap and be dog eat dog. Which I wasn't planning on segueing into this question, but it really just like fits the conversation. So my question was, we work in a very competitive industry where everyone is creatively one-upping each other. What's your advice for those who are struggling with comparison or a scarcity mindset? Because I feel like that's their issue, is that they've got this super scarcity mindset that somebody is going to come through and like eat up their business. And so they just function out of exclusively dog eat dog. Like, how can I bury you? You're either with me or I'm killing you. That's their philosophy. And we constantly are teaching other people how to do the exact, like, we are creating our own competition.
Yeah. The people from our mentorship are investing in some of our exact markets.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Good.
I personally think, one, when we tell, like, in those specific case scenarios, we're like, okay, then you get to compete with us too. Like, we want our mentees to think of us as their direct competition and level up that much more, because we're always going to be leveling up too. We want each other to be like pushing each other to be better if we're in the same market, right? Like, we're like, okay, you got to compete with us, so you better like make it good.
Yeah.
But I think of this specifically with like designers, because I feel like we've created great relationships with a lot of different designers, and I don't feel like, I mean, I like some of them, but I don't feel like this huge sense of loyalty, because I know that they all have pretty different styles, and like they also all have very different personalities. So when we send them to each other, or like when we recommend them, we're like, somebody's going to fit with the person that they're supposed to fit with.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about everything that we do. Like, we have Maddie, for example. She's a designer and she designs great properties, but her style is very different. So somebody's going to prefer her over us. Somebody's going to prefer our style over hers. They might prefer the way that we operate different. Like, I don't even know how to think a different way. Yeah. And so I don't know how to like give advice on it, other than like, the bright people are going to find you. Yeah. I love that Tatiana actually at Level Up Your Listing was talking about how she chose not to do a keynote session this year, just because like public speaking makes her nervous. And she was like, because normally Natalie and Tatiana, they sell whatever their thing is during their keynote, right? Because they're the hosts. And she was like, I decided not to do a keynote this year. And she said, I just feel like the right people are finding me anyways, and I don't need to be doing that. And that was like, not to say anything about anybody else who feels the need to do those things. It's just that she feels very secure in the thing that she is offering. And she was like, the right people will want to choose me because I'm the right fit for them.
Yeah.
And she's the designer too. And she does panels with other designers that are her direct competition
Yeah.
in this industry. And she gets them up on stage and she interviews them. And I just think that that's just the way to do it. Like we
Yeah.
have great friends and the other designers that are in this industry where somebody could choose, like, for example, you're doing Airbnb in a box right now. And so somebody could come to you and be like, well, actually, I want to go and work with
Maddie
Summerlet or
yeah.
Maddie or whoever else because I like their design better. And you're like, okay, that's probably the better fit for you, because then if they don't like your design, then they become this client that like is
Hates you.
on you all the time. So
Yeah.
you want people to work with the people that they feel connected to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and every time, because we have probably increased the amount of lake house B&Bs in Michigan by 50. Like we have single-handedly like really created truly our own competition in the state of Michigan. And so every now, I mean, we get asked that all the time, like, aren't you afraid of creating your own competition? Would you put a second property on the same lake that you already have a property on? Like all sorts of questions like that. And I always have to go back to, why did we start this and why does it work? And in my opinion, we started this and it works because we've always prioritized the people that we serve. Like at the end of the day, the people that we serve are people who are on vacation, who get 2 weeks a year, who up until recently were staying in crappy grandma and grandpa style cottages in Michigan. And we saw a need in Michigan for there to be aesthetic quality vacations or access to that type of vacation. And so we were offering it for the people of Michigan who we, know and love, to be able to have that sort of a memory for their family and friends. And so it's like, in focusing on that as opposed to focusing on, am I collecting the biggest piece of pie for myself? All of a sudden I'm like, okay, we're doing exactly what we set out to do. We are making Michigan and the quality of vacation or the access to quality vacations better for the people of Michigan, which was the mission. The mission was never to be the richest, to collect the most houses in Michigan.
I don't really, Tyler and I actually were talking about this in the car the other day about like those questions that people get asked, like if you could have $1 billion and not be with me or whatever, would you take it? I just don't know that I ever want that kind of money.
Yeah.
I like the money to be comfortable, sure.
Yeah.
Like I like the comfort level of it, but that's never been my goal. I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to own a home, sure, that I get to live in. But I just like, to me, if I have to like sell out and make it so nobody else gets to do the thing, I don't care about money that much.
Yeah.
I truly don't.
Yeah.
And we've said this from the beginning too, like at least my life looks completely different than I ever pictured it being, especially being from the town that we're from. And so if other people get the opportunity to create a life that they never thought that they could have, that feels so good to me.
Yeah, than a higher number in your bank account.
Yeah, and sure, like the numbers are great and like the comfort level that comes with the numbers is great. But I just like I don't want to have the most houses. I don't want to have the most work that comes with those houses, and I don't really care about money that much.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, now we get to be surrounded by, like, we've developed a whole new friend group of people who are dreamers and visionaries and creatives and like,
and inspirational to us.
They're just so good. Like our circle of people around us right now is just one that like is a much larger win than what our bank accounts are doing because of these properties.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've had that question asked to me a few times and I'm like, really, what keeps us out of that scarcity mindset? But I think it is the fact that we're just, we've already got more than we ever anticipated having. Maybe we didn't dream big enough. Sure. Like now we get to level up those dreams as time goes on, but we're 30.
Yeah.
Like, and we've already got more than we ever could want.
Yeah. My life looked like going to an office every single day, or when I was going for nursing school, like working 12s or whatever else. And like some people love that and that's great for them. But that like now that my life looks this way, I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Being like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that you and I are on the same page about that. And I just wish that the person in the past who has screwed us over that keeps screwing other people over, like I truly think that that's their fatal flaw. Mm-hmm. Like I think that the business that they are currently building that's not doing well, which I'm not upset about, I think that it would be if they would have had a different mindset around that and they would have been much more collaborative than competitive, I feel like it would be 10x what it is now.
Yeah. Well, I think that like the reputation that you get also is going to directly affect your business, and people are talking.
People are talking. I mean, we were involved in that situation 3 years ago,
2.5 years ago.
and people are still like actively
Asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we can talk a little more about it.
Yeah, now we're not under an NDA, but I'm still terrified of
I'm
him.
terrified.
He's scary. He's too smart. He could outsmart me.
He could for sure outsmart me.
Yeah, I don't even stand a chance.
Yeah.
And I don't care enough. You know, like I just would lay over and die in that situation.
I'll stay in my own lane. I'm good. I'll stay over here.
He who shall not be named. He won't hear coming out of my mouth. I love that. Yeah. And yeah, having an abundance mindset has resulted in us winning in big ways.
Yeah, I think it has benefited us so much more. The relationships that we get because we're willing to like have those conversations and give that information to people and care about other people's businesses, getting us way further in life than not doing that would.
Yep. 1000%. I'm trying to earn that good karma, you know? All right. I have one last question for you. And I think it's a good segue into our conversation that we're already having here. With partnerships, you and I specifically, or partnerships that we've had outside of just you and I, it's obviously impossible to stay aligned and have the same goals forever. So my question is, what advice do you have for those who are looking to have a long-term partnership that lasts?
I mean, communicating.
Yeah.
I think being flexible on some of that stuff is definitely necessary. I mean, like, for example, like putting the e-commerce stuff on pause for me so that we could build this thing. Like, there's going to be phases where somebody is sacrificing, at least at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, somebody has to sacrifice things, and like that will change depending on the time, right? Like, somebody, like, it'll rotate. So it's not always the same person. So I think in the building phase, you have to be willing to sacrifice time, goals, whatever else. But I think that like our partnership specifically now, we have like one very specific thing that we're growing together, and that thing turns into us being able to grow the things that we want. And so as long as we remain focused on the goals and the things and the quality of the one thing that we are focused on together, then our own dreams get to happen anyways.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's just a natural progression of it. But I do think the sacrifice at the beginning has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say one thing that I think is like probably more obvious than I allowed it to be at the beginning. And now that I've like kind of like realized it in my head, I'm like, oh, duh, is like learning that not everybody wants what I want, which is like, of course.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I said that to you at one point. You were talking about you and Ethan traveling all the time or something like that. And then I can't remember what happened, but I was like, Sara, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that life. Like, that's just not me. And I always felt like, I feel like there's people that feel like they have to want those things. And then there's people that feel like everybody else wants those things. Yeah. And so it takes like realizing that that's not the case for both.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, no, I don't want that. That's not my goal. So I don't have to like try to achieve those things.
Yeah. Yeah, because in my head, I'm like, who wouldn't want this? You know, like I've got it figured out, you know, and I'm like trying to sell it to everyone else because I think it's whatever it is the coolest thing ever. And the reality is that, and so I'm like just trying to drag everyone with me. I'm like, everybody has to be a part of this because this is the right answer because it's what I want, right? Like, I don't know why my brain was like just sitting in that state of mind for so long. And now it's like so much more obvious to me as we have conversations with each other about how we want to continue growing this and what we want to build and where we want to spend our time and whatever else. I will be like, oh, like, duh, she wants something different, or duh, they want something different. And so I think now it's like resulted in me trying to listen a lot more instead of like assume that you or whoever else I'm partnering with wants what I want. You know, like it's just required me to start asking questions and just shutting up.
Yeah. I think that letting people be in like the lane that they want to be in too is really necessary. I was having the conversation with Skylar about the inn, and they were like, he was just talking about like the construction of it. It's a really old house. And then he was like, and I don't even have the brain capacity for the restaurant. He was like, I can't. And he was like, and to be honest, I don't want to be in that lane.
Yeah.
But Fede desperately does.
Yeah.
He wants to be in that lane so bad. And so Skylar was like, he's doing that and I don't even have to think about it now.
Yeah.
And so like understanding, like you get to this point where you're like, okay, that's not my lane. I don't have to do that. Somebody else does want to do that. So that's the partnership that's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the perfect example to segue into my last point that I wanted to make about this is a huge mistake that I think I made in partnering in my partnership with Matt specifically on Orange Cadillac is that I avoid confrontation in an extreme way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want to keep the peace. I want everyone to like me. I want to be agreeable. I want to be the teammate that everyone's like, she was just a pleasure to work with as opposed to prickly to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And it resulted in me just shouldering all like too much of the work, you know, and just wanting to like not give fast, honest feedback. And that did not go well for either of us, right? Like when I finally was honest with Matt about how I was feeling about some things that had been going on, he was so surprised.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was a shock to him because he was not on the same wavelength as you whatsoever.
Yeah. And so again, it's like me thinking that everybody's thinking the same way as me. And so I'm like, oh, this is obvious. You know, this person is just like hanging me out to dry to do all these things. But the reality is I'm just taking it on, acting like it's my burden to bear when the reality is that I should have been giving immediate, honest feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so the situation that you bring up with Skylar, Fede, Maddie, and I on this inn with the restaurant, that's the brick wall that we were hitting where Fede didn't have enough equity in the deal to motivate him to spend time on the restaurant. And he wanted to spend time on the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And so he came to me and he's like, look, I don't want to rock the boat. I'll shoulder this if I have to. I'll do it. But I already feel a type of way about it before we've even started. And so my advice in that moment, based on my relationship with Matt and not being honest with him, I was like, we're setting a meeting on the calendar tomorrow. We're having the conversation. We're just adjusting how we're splitting this to motivate you to do a great job and feel good about the thing that you're creating. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be in any sort of a partnership where somebody is feeling like they are doing too much work for too little pay.
And then if he's not doing it, who's doing it? And it's not being done to the quality that it needs to be done for it to be a successful project anyways.
Yes.
So in reality, even if people had to give up something, it's worth it because overall the project is going to be better.
Oh, and like it's... You create this conversation in your head before it happens about how, you know, you're just like anticipating the confrontation. You're anxious about the confrontation. You're waiting for rejection. You're, you know, creating worst case scenario in your head. And then you actually have the conversation and everybody's like, oh yeah, of course. Like this makes total sense to like switch it this way. It was just, it was a 5-minute conversation that completely, if we wouldn't have had the 5-minute conversation, it would have completely changed the relationship between all of us because you're going to have one person who feels a type of way, the other, you know, it just wouldn't have turned out the same way that it will now that we've had the conversation on the front end. And so I'm like, that's something that I want to take forward in all partnerships.
Yeah. If I could give anybody advice, it's stop having the conversations in your head and just start going and having the conversation, because even if it's exactly the same way as it is in your head, even if it word for word happens exactly the same way you're imagining it, at least the conversation's over.
Yeah.
And you've stopped having it in your head.
Yeah.
Because
we have our time.
Work yourself up. I work myself up on conversations with you.
I know, same.
All the time. And then I'm like, let me just go have the conversation. And sometimes I'm like, okay, yep, that conversation went really well. Sometimes I'm like, okay, we can like continue talking about that. But at least I've stopped working myself up about it.
Yeah.
So just go and have the conversation. Because even if it's a horrible one, at least the conversation is over.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to go away. The feeling inside you is never going to go away until you talk about it.
No. And the reality is like those conversations, as you get further on in business and as you develop more relationships, they're going to have to happen more often.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to happen
those way more often than I thought we would.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden it's like a muscle that we're flexing where it's like, I feel a little bit more bitchy per se, because I have to like, no, yes, this is how it has to go. This is how I feel. I have to like really vocalize my opinions when before I would just be like, okay, my opinion is less important than keeping the peace. And the reality is that that can't exist, especially in a business relationship. And so, yeah, I'm really trying to practice some radical feedback, and it is going so well.
Yeah. I think we're pretty lucky in the groups that we're in, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think that this is something that we don't talk about a ton. And specifically, Isaac French telling his story brought this up in my head because not that he didn't work super hard to get his stuff, but like a lot of luck or good karma came into that because one more thing that could have gone wrong and his thing would have completely fell apart.
Yeah.
And he ended up building this really cool experience, but like one thing could have gone wrong. And I think that we don't talk enough about how lucky and rare our friendship and business relationship is, because a lot of people are like, I want to start business with my best friend. And I'm like, I hope everybody can find a partnership like this. I don't think that it's out there for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
Like anyone but you.
Oh.
Anyone but you, and it wouldn't be.
Yeah. Agreed.
It wouldn't be what it is today.
Agreed. I even think like being in business with like your husband, or like if we were in business to this level with our husbands, because we obviously work with them to a certain extent, but like there are certain things that wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Be good. Like I have to like very set boundaries when it comes to even like our relationship with Tyler, because I'm like, we have a child together, we're married, like the relationship is a little different. We get no separation. And so I do think that those things have to be considered too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm very thankful for it, because it's like this phase of our lives has been, I mean, they tell you that a business is going to be all consuming for the first 5 years at least. And you just don't anticipate how all consuming it can get.
Yeah. These 5 years went so fast because it's all we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just can't imagine having fallen, like if you weren't a part of it, how distant we could have easily gotten because you're in mom phase. And, like I don't even want to think about that. So like when Heather had asked, like, that a question that was similar to that about like just really getting to stay in sync with one another because we're in business together. I'm like, yeah, that's a huge advantage that we don't really talk about a whole lot, but is a win. A win is a win.
A win is a win.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've got for you. What are we on time? Did we do a good job today?
I think we did okay.
Emily's always telling me that I talk too much on these. It goes too long.
You talk too much anyways, but it's
True.
Okay. You don't like silence.
I really don't. It makes me uncomfortable. All right, guys. Well, one last thing before we hop off this episode. That I don't think I've mentioned. I mean, we mentioned it a little bit on here, but there are still some tickets for the retreat that we are hosting in May. It's going to be a mini level up your listing in so many ways. I'm so excited for it. I know you're so excited for it. The people that we've got involved that are either sponsoring or speaking at the retreat are going big for the people who are coming. Like we want it to feel like an influencer trip. That's our goal, is that the people who come feel like Tarte or L'Oreal or whoever else is taking them on an influencer trip. So if you guys are looking to connect with us and network with other creative entrepreneurs who are in the vacation rental industry, around the vacation rental industry, whether you're a host or a PM or a designer or a muralist or whoever else, like this retreat is for you.
Yes.
May 18th?
18th through the 21st in Auto Camp at
Zion National Park.
Yes.
So we would love to have you be a part of that. You can find all of the information on our website. Tickets right now, I think, are what, $750. So super affordable for the extravagance that you're going to get to experience at this retreat. So there are a few tickets left. Make sure that you go and purchase that online, and we would love to see you guys there.
Yes.
And that's all we've got for you today.
That's all we've got. We will catch you guys next time. Like and subscribe or rate us if you're listening. And yeah, catch you guys next time.
Bye.